We wanted to know what questions people had for us, and one of them was, why do middle-aged people cheat? Okay, let's start with some stats. Who cheats more, men or women, and at what age? Now, discrete investigations, guess what they do, make an important point about this. Everyone has their own definition of infidelity and adultery. It can also be hard to find reliable stats because of the limited amount of people who've been surveyed, and further studies and reports are needed for queer communities. So those who have been studied, who cheats more, men or women? According to the Institute for Family Studies, men are more likely to cheat than women, with 20% of men and 13% of women reporting having sex with someone who's not their partner. Now, by the way, that's just people who are married. But check out this graph. So for this set of people, it's more likely to be women who cheat when they're younger, but it quickly switches up to men with age. Both men and women have increased rates of infidelity in the middle ages, but then for women, it drops off, and for men, it stays pretty consistent, with 24% of men over the age of 80 being unfaithful to their partner. That's a lot. Now, if we accept a definition of middle-aged being one like this, which is the ages of 45 to 65, there is a gap here between how many men and women are cheating. What's also really interesting is that this peak when people are cheating most in their life changes throughout time. So in the 90s, infidelity was most common for men aged 50 to 59. The decade after, infidelity was highest for men aged 60 to 69. And the same goes for women. In the 90s, women aged 40 to 49 were most likely to cheat, and the decade after it was women aged 50 to 59. But why? Wendy Wang at the IFS thinks it's because Americans born between the 1930s and 50s are more likely to be unfaithful, and that the changing pattern over the decades is reflective of these groups getting older. So why do people cheat? Here's just a few of the reasons, which include lack of commitment, feeling unhappy in the relationship, feeling unappreciated, boredom, body image and aging, or even revenge. But as well as reasons for cheating, there are also triggers. They include things like the internet making finding connections elsewhere easier, opportunities like working away from home, pornography triggering desire, and poor personal boundaries like being overly people-pleasing and finding it hard to say no. So Dr. Alicia Walker talked to a bunch of people from Ashley Madison, the married dating site, about why they strayed. And in a complete reversal of this cultural idea that men are largely driven by sex and women by their emotions, she found that women reported infidelity being about sexual satisfaction, that is, not having it in their relationship and getting it elsewhere. On the other hand, men reported having a fondness and deep love for their partner, but a very low or non-existent amount of validation and praise, which was causing them to look for those things elsewhere. So sexual or emotional, a lot of this infidelity that Dr. Walker is describing seems to be about having unmet needs that people are not able to work through at home. And of course, as therapist Robert Weiss suggests, for some it can be this attitude of it's just sex. And apparently that does tend to be more culturally male. So why do middle-aged people cheat? A lot of reasons, and it depends entirely on the person. But the leading reason for women is looking for sexual satisfaction, and for men it's reassurance. And I have to say, I was pretty surprised to learn that. What do you think about these findings? Let us know in the comments.